President Bola Tinubu is in Turkey, engaging in bilateral agreements on security, trade, and how to improve the Nigerian economy. Another defection to the APC today. The APC has added yet another governor officially been welcomed by leaders of the party in Jos Plateau State. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Okemale, right here in Abuja. Let's begin tonight by letting you know what happened today in Abuja, where leaders of opposition party, African Democratic Congress, converged on the capital, where they're reviewing a book written by the spokesperson of the ADC, Madam Bolaji Abdullahi, who served as a former Minister for Youth Development. The book, titled The Loyalist, is an account of the former minister on his service when he was appointed minister and a lot of the politicking and politics behind his service to the nation. At that event, it didn't go without some political statement being made by some of the heavyweights who attended the book launch. Some of them include the National Secretary of the ADC and former Governor of Osun State, Rauf Aragbeshola, and the former Vice President, Atiku Abubakar. Take a listen to them.
Much more positively with the development or political development of our country is the emergence of this coming together of various political leaders to rescue this country from, I think, the worst administration.
Something is going wrong in Ghana now, which is worrisome. Those of us who are Democrats, or who want to be genuine Democrats, about the fact that 30 governors are supporting a party, and for that reason that party is undefeatable. And I laugh. I laugh because the recent statistics in Nigeria does not support this. And I want to use the position of this microphone to let Nigerians know that the last election in this country and the result from that election never support this particular belief. In the first instance, I want to say, if the party to which the governments are defecting are so sure, let them commit to a free and fair electoral process and see what will be the results. That's the first solution. The second solution is to say, and I'm going to use result from two zones. Just two zones to capture this argument that when you have governors with you, you are sure of victory. I will use result from two zones. I can use from all zones. I will actual result from two zones. Southwest and Southeast.
I am making this appeal. Please come together more. Let our followers direct their passion into the ADC. Let them know there is only one party and our mission is bigger than any individual or individual ambition. This is what I'm begging.
All right. That the patriot, the loyalist, as written by Bolaji Abdullah and presented today earlier in Abuja, where you find some of the leaders of the ADC speaking on the podium there. Well, we'll take a break, everyone. Well, literally not a break. He's showing you some of your political roundup stories, and we get right into it. A lot has happened today. Today, again, another defections, and we'll be finding out what exactly is prompting these defections, the politics of the defection, the psychology of the defection, and some of the issues that it has raised. And I'll take you to Turkey. What has been making the rounds is the sleeping of President Bola Tinubu when he was in Turkey alongside, when he was beside the president of Turkey, President Erdogan. But that has been making the rounds. The presidency has responded that the president is doing well and is okay and is continued with his other engagement in Turkey. But we'll be finding out the essence of the Turkey trip and what it means for Nigeria. And that is our lineup for tonight. But first and foremost, let's have you with some of your political roundup stories.
President Tinubu requested an amendment to the Court of Appeal Act to raise the number of justices from 70 to 110, citing the need to strengthen the court and address the growing volume of cases. He also transmitted an amendment bill seeking to review the Federal High Courts Act to increase the number of judges from 70 to 90, up from the original provision of 50 judges. The House of Representatives has been urged to hit the ground running in the new legislative year with a renewed sense of duty, discipline, and commitment to delivering qualitative representation to Nigerians. This charge was given by the Deputy Speaker of the House, Mr. Benjamin Kalu, who emphasized that lawmakers must prioritize key national assignments, including the tax reform laws, the ongoing constitution review process, and the consideration of the 2026 budget, describing them as critical to delivering meaningful legislative outcomes for Nigerians. Justice Emmanuel Sobilim of the National Industrial Court has ordered workers of the Federal Capital Territory to suspend the ongoing industrial action pending the hearing and determination of the originating summons. Justice Sobilim made the order while ruling on an application filed by the Minister of the FCT, Mr. Nyesom Wike, seeking an order compelling striking workers to return to work. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike, is vowing to discipline any worker that fails to show up for duty on Wednesday, January the 28th, 2026. The minister gave the warning during a media briefing following the ruling of the National Industrial Court, which ordered the FCT Joint Union Action Congress to suspend the industrial action immediately. He also warned against any form of protest or attempt to block the entrance of the FCT administration headquarters. While stating that the strike is politically motivated, the minister explains that his administration has commenced the payment of the FCT workers' wages. In Nasarawa State, Senator Ahmed Wadada Aliyu has reaffirmed his commitment to strengthening the All Progressives Congress as he donates 27,000 e-registration forms and 20 million naira in support of the party's ongoing digital e-registration exercise in Nasarawa State. The senator led top APC leaders of the party secretariat in Lafia as a show of solidarity and support for the reform, describing the e-registration initiative as a critical step towards building a modern, inclusive, and people-driven party structure. He commended President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Governor Abdullahi Sule, and the APC National Working Committee for driving the digital transformation of the party. Kebbi State, where the Malami Support Organization has condemned the continued detention of former Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Mr. Abubakar Malami, describing it as a serious threat to the integrity of Nigeria's justice system. The Director of Strategy and Communication of the organization, Saidu Atiku Abubakar, made this known while addressing members of the MSO at its office in Birnin Kebbi. He said the arrest and prolonged detention of Mr. Malami is a disturbing development that raises fundamental concerns about due process, constitutional safeguards, and respect for the rule of law.
Thank you so much. And there you have it. You've been served with your political roundup stories and you're up to speed. But let's touch on our major stories for tonight. First is in Plateau State, where we've seen yet another governor of the People's Democratic Party, the PDP, who's officially now been received into the camp of the All Progressives Congress, APC. Today's welcoming into the APC was a lot of heavyweights of the APC who stormed Jos Plateau State capital, but coming from the vice president to the national chairman of the APC, the chairman of the APC Governors Forum, the governor of Imo State, alongside several other governors, and also members of the National Assembly trooped to Jos Plateau State, where they welcomed the new entrant into the party, and one is probably 29th governor of the APC, and still counting according to the national chairman of the APC. Well, let me allow you to listen to some of the speeches made at that event today.
Are coming together. The movement of myself, our followers, and everybody that follows you and follows me, and all the other structures of APC and PDP on the plateau will bring the needed peace on the plateau. We'll work together We hope there are people who strategize and ensure that peace permeates across the entire state. That's what we all stand for, and that's what we're going to also move along with you, not just in words, but in action.
Plateau will move together in one direction. Plateau will move together in unity. Some have said that we are defecting. We are not defecting. We are realigning. We are re-engineering. And we are strategically positioning Plateau to be able to reap the dividends of democracy.
Come yet another visionary son of Plateau State and his supporters into a political journey that will change the fortune of this nation. His Excellency Barrister Kale Manasseh Mutpwang is a force of unity and a change maker we cannot afford to take for granted in a state that has known the pain of political polarization and conflict. He has stood firm in the conviction that no agent of anarchy can tear us apart once we choose dialogue over division and hope over hatred.
It is not only Governor Mutpwang that has declared their movement to the APC. It comes with most of the political figures who had also come with him, National Assembly members and House of Assembly members. Don't forget, this was a governor who defeated the APC as a member and a candidate of the PDP, defeated the APC just when Simon Lalong, who is became a minister, then the senator, was exiting as a candidate, as a sitting governor then. But the interesting thing is that the national chairman of the APC, President Ntawe Yowada, was a candidate of the APC. It's the same man that has led the defection of his opponent when he was a candidate of the APC into the fold of the APC. Interesting that also Samuel Lalong, alongside Yowada, and several other APC leaders in Plateau State have joined hands to say, we're welcoming the governor back into the APC. So let's see what this means for the APC, Plateau State, the PDP, and opposition politics in Nigeria. I've got Professor Jide Ofo Adibe. He's a professor of political science in the Nasarawa Senator University. He's live for us here in our studio. It's good to see you, Prof. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sheila.
Yeah, I would like you to deal with a couple of defections. There's one in Kano yesterday. Yeah. There's another one today in Plateau State. It's such a handful to deal with. But let me find out also from let's see what is going on the ground. I have a former speaker of the Plateau State House of Assembly and a special advisor on political affairs to Governor Caleb Mutpwang, Honorable Isfanos Mwasat, who is joining us live virtually from Jos Plateau State. Thanks so much, Honorable, for joining us tonight on the program.
Thank you, Sean.
How do you feel? One day you're wearing the hat of the PDP, the other night, now you'll be a member of the APC. How does it feel? For some of you who, for several years, being members of the PDP, and you've campaigned against the APC, you said APC is an evil party that nobody should join. If you go back to the tapes of the campaign in the 2023 election, there are so many words that are being uttered against your opponent, the APC. You defeated them at the poll, but now you're joining ranks with them. How does it feel today?
Well, we feel people because the dynamics of politics in this country is evident everywhere. And of course, based on the exigencies of the time, we feel that the time now is right for us to align with the APC for very obvious reasons. As you heard my governor said, we are not defecting. We are doing political re-engineering and, of course, strategic positioning as far as the state is concerned. And therefore, we feel that nothing has changed. It's like a situation where you have a room. Today, a party is thrown in that particular room. Next, tomorrow, it's a church service. It is not the room that matters, but the content, the people that occupy the room that matter. So with respect to the issues you have raised with what people have said over time as concerns the APC, we are concerned about the content of the party and not, of course, the party as a party per se. So there's nothing new in this. we feel that strategically Plateau State needs to position itself in such a way that we can also be part of the participants in the conversation room, as it were.
But so one thing that is paramount here, and I heard loudly what Rauf Arabushala said today at the book launch of Bolaji Abdullahi, to say, look, if you look at the 2023 election and some of the results out of that elections will tell you that it doesn't matter where the governor or where some of the leaders are lying politically, that when the people decide and the voters decide is what is paramount. The fact that the governor and some of the political heavyweights in the state have moved in one direction does not mean that the vote will go in the way of the APC. Whether or not you have been able to convince the people of the state psychologically and ideologically is a big issue here. There are those who are on the ground in Plateau who will say, let the governors go, the governor and his supporters go. We are not psychologically or ideologically with him.
Well, if you follow really what happened in Plateau today, it goes without saying that the governor is loved by his people. The governor has the mandate of the people, and of course, he has the trust of the people. Now, as a people, we believe in his judgment, and we believe that this is the right decision here taken in the interest of this state. Secondly, if the last elections of 2023 is anything to go by, you will agree with me that going by the result, Plateau people are with Governor Mutfwang, and therefore, Governor Mutfwang will appear to be the leader that Plateau people trust, and therefore, they are moving with him en masse. Of course, it will not be correct to say 100% of the PDP are moving with him. Certainly not. But I can assure you, not less than 80% of those of us that were in the PDP are moving. Not necessarily people holding positions. No. Practical Plateau people, even people that do not carry party membership, are believing that the governor's move is in the best interest of this state. And therefore, most people are moving with him. Because we believe that we are going to achieve a few things with this movement. One, the unity of this state will be enhanced. Two, we are going to be strategically positioned because the governor's desire is that Plateau State should be among the states that can produce a minimum of 1 million votes for the president come 2027. And once we are able to achieve that, I can assure you that our place in the conversation room will be strategic.
Well, in this sense, how do you rationalize the APC that said Mutfwang and the PDP lack the understanding of how to run the affairs of the state? They blamed insecurity in Plateau State on the capacity of the governor. How do you rationalize it? How do you think the Plateau State people should be able to figure themselves in the midst of all these political calculations? Don't you think they might be confused?
The sad reality about Nigerian politics is the fact that the opposition will tell you that it is not their job to make your work easy for you. And therefore, whatever it is, they're supposed to put you on the edge. But of course, you can hear what the voices are saying today, even from the key APC people. Today, the tune has changed. And of course, what they are saying today is the reality on ground. Because Plateau people are very, very comfortable and very satisfied with the governor's performance, as it were, in the past 2.5 years. He's done very well. There's no doubt about that. But of course, because hitherto he was in the PDP, so it was the opposition's job to, of course, make his job difficult for him. But I can assure you, as it stands today, the facts are coming. Everybody believes that Governor Mutfwang is doing well. And then, like he said himself, we are moving into the APC not to displace anybody, not to compete with anybody, but we are going in to add value, to bring about unity, the much needed unity in the state, as it were. So for us, those that had different opinions, that had made statements that are negative with respect to what the governor is doing, I can assure you today, the tune is different. And of course, the tune for today is the real issue on the ground.
What do you say to those who say today that they see coercion, they see some kind of political manipulation, and they see pressure that as arm twisted Governor Mutfwanga in making this decision, and those who say this is perhaps a political selfishness, that these guarantees those who are now moving automatic ticket in 2027. What do you say to them?
Governor Mutfwang does not need an automatic ticket because the people are with him. Any day, anytime, Mutfwang will contest elections twice, he will win those elections, I can assure you. For me, it goes with, it's neither here nor there. Why will anybody attempt to coerce Governor Mutfwang to move into the APC? Why will anybody twist him? For what reason? There's basically no reason. This is out of his own volition and, of course, strategic placement and positioning, as it were. This is politics. The dynamics of politics, of course, is manifested because you cannot continue to be dogmatic or static when you notice that it is evidently clear that the platform on which you were elected on is relatively sick. And of course, the period of recovery is not within your control. And therefore, it is even scriptural that a wise person sees danger from afar and takes a detour to avoid whatever lies ahead. And I think the governor, as a wise person, as a good leader, has seen danger ahead. And therefore, this decision to move into the APC becomes the best option for us in the circumstance. All the options were put on the table. Each of the options has its own risk factor. And of course, the decision with the least risk factor, of course, is aligning with the APC, because we believe, again, that aligning with the APC will be in the interest of our state. If you heard what the vice president said, the Akwanga Jos road, of course, I think even if we have not moved into the APC, though it's a responsibility, but of course the fact that it is one of the immediate benefits of this movement, I think that Plateau people are happier for it. They are happier for it, and of course, they are the best for it. So I think what the governor has done is in the best interest of the people, it's in the best interest of the state, and of course, it is strategic placement, as it were.
When you say it's in the best interest of the people, how? How does the defection to the APC, is the state going to get more money? Is it going to improve governance? Is it going to change the ideology of governance? How does the people benefit? And that's the question the average person will be asking. How does it benefit me, other than you, change of colors and change of...
Like I said earlier on, resource distribution nationally, I believe sincerely that aligning with the center will facilitate attention from the center. Once upon a time, we had a president in this country who, when confronted with lack of patronage to certain parts of this country, and he asked the question, you expect me to patronize states that gave me 5% as against those that gave me 90%, or the same way those gave me 90%? No. What we are saying, we are positioning ourselves strategically. Once we position ourselves strategically, I believe sincerely that the people of the state, and of course the state itself, will be the better for it. And therefore, the people's interest is paramount. And because the governor believes that the people's interest is topmost in whatever he is out to achieve, of course, aligning with the center, basically.
All right. What is the agreement on the power sharing and all of those arrangements? What was the agreement that Governor Mutfwanga
between who? Who are the parties to the agreement?
In moving to the APC, there's always an agreement.
In terms of what?
You sit down. There's an agreement that Governor Mutfwanga is not the leader of the APC in Plateau State.
Yes,
that's an agreement.
That is statutory.
So what are the other? In some states, there's been a disagreement over who becomes the leader of the party. So what are the other agreements? They will give Plateau more money, or what exactly? Automatic tickets to the honorables and.
As far as the issue of leadership of the party is concerned, that is not. It is not contestable because it is statutory. It is constitutional, based on the provisions of the constitution of the APC. But of course, when he takes his position as the leader whatever discussion that will come up, of course, he sits over that discussion. But I can assure you, as it stands today, there is no such thing as agreement, to the best of my knowledge. And if there was any, I should be in a position to know, as the political advisor to His Excellency the Governor.
Sorry, I'm asking you because I know you're a very experienced politician, as the former Speaker of the House of Assembly and a special advisor to the Governor on political affairs. Will it be right for any political party, a big way, to move from one political party to another without any agreement on the structure, on the gains, on the benefits, on the runnings, on the political benefits in the nearest future for your movement? Because the governor said the president personally urged him to come into the APC, right? And so you think that invitation was just an empty, plain invitation without any agreement? So so what happens to the PDP members who are going to the APC? What happens to the people that they met in the APC? How does the alignment, how does it work? There's always an agreement. There's always an understanding. And those are the details I'm asking.
Like I said earlier on, when the governor said he moved, he had an invitation, the president has an eye for good things. And of course, when the president saw a good material, he knew very well that this one is a very good person, and therefore the invitation. Now, like I said earlier on, as it stands today, our position, our thinking, our plan, and of course what we are out for is to ensure that we align with what will be in our best interest. Structures are not given. Structures are earned. Now, the APC is planning for its congresses. So, to the best of our knowledge, when the time comes for Congress, everybody that is interested goes present himself before the people. If he's elected, he forms part of the structure, as it were. So we are not used to allocating positions. We believe that to do the right thing is to earn those positions by presenting ourselves before the people, and then let the will of the people prevail. That way, you have good participation. Commitment of people is very high, because whatever leadership structure that is in place, they will know that it's a reflection of what they want. So I insist, and I want to say categorically that as it stands today, as at now, there is no thing like negotiations or discussions as to what is in there for us. No, we believe as a people and as a government, whatever it takes, our people are with us. Whenever we speak to them, they will agree with us because they trust us, because we are trustable.
All right. Honorable Istifanas Mwansat, who is the political affairs advisor to Governor Caleb Mutfwang of Plateau State and a former Speaker of the Plateau State House of Assembly. Thank you so much for giving us insight onto the minds of the governor and those who are defecting today from the PDP to the APC. Thank you so much indeed for your time.
You're most welcome.
Let me ask for the views of Professor, he's the expert here, Professor Gideofor Adibe. Let's take it one after the other. Let's say Plateau State. What comes to you as a significance of the Plateau State as a political bloc? We do know that the North Central generally is always a swing bloc for every election. It's a mixture of the Muslim, Christian, and a lot of ideological, a mixture of ideologies over the last few past years in our politics. So usually, if you're going to win, the North Central often determines who wins the election. Because if you go to the North, Northwest, Northeast, and you win all of those, or you go South, South, and Southwest, or Southeast, and you win those ones, you always need the North Central to strike the balance. Oftentimes, that's what plays out in our politics. How significant? When you see the national chairman of the party, who was the candidate of the APC in the last election, welcoming his opponent into the APC, what do you think this means?
I think it's very multi-layered. The first thing to say is that in Nigerian politics, enmity and loyalty, enmity is only for a season. loyalty is only for a season. The fact that somebody is giving you loyalty today or is your political enemy today does not mean it continues. In other words, it's not a question of principle. I'm not too sure whether I will call it opportunistic, what is happening now in terms of defections. It seems to be there. In comparison, for example, if you look at the United States of America since 1856, there have been only 49 switches of political parties since 1856. In the UK, in the UK, since 1979, you have only 229, and one will expect that in their kind of system is where carpet crossing is more. So what does that tell you? That in our own system, it's just, as people have always said, these are special purpose vehicles. But coming specifically to Plateau, like many other parts, like the Southeast, like the Southwest, it's an area of the country that voraciously and very vocally, if you can say, searching for where to anchor its identity. Should it anchor its identity on the north? In the north, because it's not geographically located in the north. Or should it anchor its identity in the south? It is neither here nor there. I mean, when I say, I mean the core middle belt like Plateau and Benue, having this Muslim population and all this. So it continues to swing. We don't really know how this will play out. What I can say about these defections is, for now, it has created a momentum for the ruling party. Having said this, if something, because there is always one variable in your analysis that you may not have taken cognizance of, but which will come up to become a game changer. If tomorrow you have one or two governors, let's say the ADC is able to resolve some of his problems and people start to see it as a credible alternative, and you have one or two defections, it will become self-perpetuating. So the momentum, even if the ADC gains only 5 seats, the momentum will seem to shift very dramatically to its side. So right now, it is getting the momentum. Like Karl Marx said about capitalism, capitalism will generate the seeds of its own destruction. This defection will also generate the seeds of the implosion or potential implosion of the ADC. So many people are moving into the party. Not all of their aspirations and ambitions will be satisfied there. That will create a bulk of dissatisfied people or politicians, which potentially, if ADC is able to present itself as a credible alternative, which will potentially be, a recruiting ground for the ADC. But for that to happen, there has to be a credible alternative. Right now, there doesn't seem to be a credible alternative. All the existing parties have one issue or the other. So are they being opportunistic by defecting, or are they being smart? It depends on, your own choice of vocabularies. For example, that if you go to the PD, if you stick with the PDP and you win an election, there is a possibility that the court will say that the faction of the PDP that on which you won an election was not the legal one, the legitimate one. You lose your election. On the other hand, if you want to move, if you want to follow the ideology of the goat following the man with the palm front, and you try to play smart, people will say you don't have principle, but then self-preservation is the first law of nature. So it just depends on how we look at it. And I don't think, for me, I don't want to be very... we have now come to accept, in terms of our political culture, that political parties are not driven by any kind of principle. They're just special purpose vehicles. So we have lost that idea that, people will go back to their vomit. Look at Boala, look at Reno Mokria. They understand the Nigerian psychology that you condemn them for 2 months and then the life goes on.
And perhaps, maybe some of us who are students of political science and who understand that you cannot run the affairs of a state without understanding the isms and the philosophies and ideologies that run political society. In the Second Republic, you you understand that whether you're a liberalist or you're a Pan-Africanist, you're a nationalist in tendency, or you outrightly say you're a socialist in your economic belief, or you're a capitalist, or you're a conservative, you're a liberalist. And a lot of people will be asking the questions, what do you believe? And in America, where you grew up will determine what your understanding or your ideology is. But sadly, it is what it is today in Nigeria, because I know for sure that, and I'd have this conversation with members of the PDP, leaders of the PDP, who said they founded the PDP as a right of the center. And those who founded the APC said some of the ideologies is enshrined in some kind of socialist and welfareist tendency at the left of the center. And you find out that at the end of the day, where are those ideologies? All of a sudden, those who believe in the power of the state owning resources, and those who believe that the people should be involved in resources of the state, where are those? How did those merge? They never, a lot of the times, if you look at those who stand on those ideologies, they never agree. They would never agree. But all of a sudden, the agreement is so much so loud these days. And what exactly has caused all of this? Those are the big questions that people will be asking. Are those ideologies fundamental or they are ethereal?
Let me just tell you one thing. There's a story we say. People who say we do not believe in ideology are themselves being ideological. In other words,
it's an ideology.
It's an
to
ideology.
Not believe in ideology.
So the end of ideology school is itself ideological.
Yeah.
That's a mantra we say. So the ideology in Nigeria is grab power. Because power is the major means of production, distribution, and exchange.
Grabism.
You can call it, if you believe in it.
Grabism.
But for the system, they are not really... The difference between one party and the other in Nigeria today is the difference between 12 and 1 dozen. If you really want to go into parties that had ideology, I wouldn't use the word ideology in a very strict sense, but I would say, principles. You have to go to Action Group, you have to go to UPN, to PRP. The others, you can call them petit bourgeois political parties if you are inclined into that such vocabularies. So, but does it really matter to an average Nigerian? People want to say, okay, people like Barak Nzugo in Kano in those days, he said his own party is for the illiterates, by the illiterates, and for the illiterates. And it worked for him. I mean, he had his own core supporters. Once you, Sean, become governor now, there are people who come around, including pastors who come and, professor that you get a second term, and without you are the best thing that has happened to the country since after ice cream and too much shinkapa or egusi soup. So I think this is what it is in Nigeria. But it says more about our lack of institutions. Yeah. It is also says more about our lack of core beliefs. In fact, if you have core belief, and I don't mean principle in a very dogmatic sense. Yeah. If you have core belief, they don't go very far in politics. In fact, I actually gave a lecture somewhere where I was arguing that it is one thing to be able to win an election, and another thing to be able to dip your hand into that furnace and get your mandate. For that reason, I was arguing, I think it was to the Nigerian Labour Congress, that what some of us were hoping is to see somebody who will understand the way the system works, use that system to gain power, and then commit what America Cabral will call class suicide. So, and we have seen people like that who get radicalized by power. You see Moritala Mohan, people who had previous shady background, they come in, they become so radicalized, and then turn themselves against the system. That has been our hope. In fact, some of the most compelling arguments of supporters of Tinubu in the midst of all those controversies was they say, oh, well, you may say he's this and he's that. So if you say he's a thief, we don't argue with you, but it takes a thief to catch a thief. So that let's give these people a chance. That the politics of messianism had failed after Buhari. Messianic politics, that this is one man who will be very redemptive, who will redeem Nigerians. And after that, people are now saying, well, so what next? We have seen it all, we have heard it all. Yeah.
And a lot of the times, season and time is also very reflective of, and you saw what happened in the UK, where it does happen that the party that held sway for the longest time started losing it. They started making errors until they started having the conversation of Brexit. And the center could not hold. Naturally, because the economic situation of the country did not show that the ideology or their philosophy of running their party and their government is working. And I mean, those who will they ever forget some of our friends in the north who wanted to come to the south because of the ideology and the philosophy of Obafemi Awolowo running as a premier of in that region. And you understand that this is what Obafemi Awolowo and his party wanted, different from what the MPN and the UPN, every other person said they wanted in their different region. And you wonder that what exactly, it looks like we are confused as a people. So one person comes, starts something, another person comes, kills it, he's not confused, whether or not, because it comes down to the core of what does our nation need. And when the people make a decision that we are in need, there's a poverty in the land, this party says that they can eradicate poverty, bring them in. And that was sold, MK Abiola, for example. Eradication of poverty is on top of his agenda. And I see that this lack of philosophy is affecting our nation.
For me, I think what we need is somebody, I've said this severally, unless we're able to create a nation, every solution you throw to the myriad of our problems will end up becoming part of the problems. So I will want somebody, irrespective of party, and irrespective of your previous background, who can come in, commit that class suicide, which class suicide means denying your ethnic identity, your religious identity, and focusing on doing the right thing. Almost close to what Obasanjo tried to do, you know, despite his own shortcomings. So when you get somebody like that, and Nigerians start to have a sense of being one, that is equivalent to what Toxevi will call concurrent majorities. You will start achieving elite consensus. Then it becomes easier to govern the country. Right now, even the leaders, the way they carry themselves, many people, the good thing that is happening about this defection, the unintended positive consequence, is that people are saying, oh, does it mean that these people are going to take this election serious? Because there is a whole group of people who believe that, look, Maurice Iwu is going to be an angel. That's, you know, that's whatever you do, the election is already a foregone conclusion. What if they announce their result before the elections are even concluded and ask you to go to court? What will you do? So I am trying to say that there are positive things. We are talking about the election, which we are assuming that votes will count. And the way both the ruling position are taking it, they are behaving as if votes will count. So we take that as one of the positives in these defections.
Let's go on a break. But there are controversy around the visit of President Bola Tinubu to Turkey. A little slip for a few seconds. Nigeria President Bola Tinubu making some audacious statement about what he expects as outcome of that meeting. We'll be right back and I'm asking my guest tonight, what is the benefit or what attention next after this break, everyone? Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us on the program. Our attention shifts to President Bola Tinubu's trip to Turkey. Is appointed to that country to have some engagement on trade, economy, and a security conversation on how Turkey can get on board in the Nigerian business. So earlier on, what has gotten the headlines, and we're getting reactions from the presidency, is how the president had a few seconds of sleep and he was being helped by his aide to get up when himself and his counterpart were walking down the aisle there when the ceremony to welcome him officially to the country was going on. And a lot of people have been reacting to what could have led to the fall. Well, the presidency has since reacted to say the president is fine, he's okay, in good health, and it's continued to attend to some of the engagements he's been lined up to do. And afterwards, we saw the president sitting down with the President Erdogan and in an agreement that was signed earlier today. And of course, we saw that the president has gone into a dinner, and those are some of what is being done today. But let's talk about what Turkey can do for Nigeria and what Nigeria can also in exchange give to Turkey. Professor Gideon Fadide is still with us, the professor of political science. Thanks so much, Prof, for joining us. Turkey, there are those who have criticized the president. He spent so much time out of the country. He only got back into the country halfway into the month in the beginning of the year. Now he's off to Turkey. But are you one of those who think that if it's of benefit to the country, why not if not?
Sure. Let me say that capital smells opportunities. You do not need to go to any land to woo capital. Once there are opportunities, even in war-torn areas, capital will move in. How many presidents in the world do you know traveling around the world, because they are looking for investors? What is the role of the economic mission in your embassies? So while I recognize the role of personal diplomacy plays a role, but not to the extent of being a globetrotter. I think, but he didn't start it, or Obasanjo did that, Buhari did that. So more is becoming more like a tradition among our own presidents. But I don't think personally it's something I support. I think you have Minister of Foreign Affairs, you have your trade missions in your various embassies. There is no reason why a president of the country should constantly be on the move. You know, you should stay. How many times have you had a Prime Minister of the UK or even Donald Trump or leaders of other countries junketing around the world and saying they are looking for investors? Yeah, you do go in strategic cases, not the cases where your trade missions and Minister of Foreign Affairs cannot handle. And not especially in these days where you can even use your video conferencing to talk to your counterparts. I don't think it's, I think it's one of the, people see it as more going for photo ops with world leaders. But that is what it is. People conflate personal diplomacy with globetrotting by presidents.
So you see Turkey sits the Mid-Eastern politics, it plays it well, plays the Western politics very well. European politics is at the heart of that nation. In fact, as long as you cross the bridge, it does look like you're moving from Europe to the Middle East. So that country is a very interesting one.
But belonging to neither, if you remember its own challenges in trying to become member of the European Union, that tells you also the level of acceptance.
And give it to Turkey. You now have a lot of Turkish products flooding the market, competing shoulder to shoulder with the Chinese product. In the furniture business, they're doing very well. They're probably topping. Even in the fabric market, they're doing very well. Now in medicine, Turkey is another destination for medical tourism. A lot of Nigerians now go to Turkey for aesthetic medicine and all that. And even in hardware and the sophistication of military weaponry, Turkey is playing very highly in that. You think that whatever deal Nigeria is signing, and I see the NSA, the Minister of Interior, the Trade Minister, all of them are there in Turkey. And the caliber of persons and the long list of people that we see going to Turkey, it does look like this is going to be taken seriously.
Yeah, if the president, for example, had just traveled to Turkey as one of the few travels, it would not have generated concerns. But it's constantly on the move. So whatever strategic importance this might be is diluted by the fact that he's a frequent traveler. So, and I think people will just see it as one of those travels. What is it that really? You know, there are times, certain circumstances that might justify such travels. But for the fact that he's constantly on the move, he returns today, stays 1 week, 2 weeks, is off again. I'm not too sure it is very good, even in terms of optics. Even from other countries around the world, looking at you, you should, first of all, show that you love your country, that you're very comfortable being in your country, not constantly on the move. Having said that, I'm not trying to downplay the role, because whatever they are discussing about in Turkey is not in the public domain, but there are travels and attends all manner of meetings here, and even those ones that the Minister of Foreign Affairs, or certain deals that the trade mission in the embassy can easily handle. Must you constantly be there yourself?
But if you, and those who say in terms of security and securing this country, Turkey, we need to have a conversation with a country like Turkey, especially because we're looking for hardware to fight the battle. You don't think that you need your men on the ground in the room to cross the T's and dot the I's?
Well, do you really think in this modern world that all the conversations you need to be physically present? There are often people who clear the way. I mean, who will be able to identify the critical people you match in both countries if you really want to have any deal. I'm not specifically focusing on Turkey, but generally with the frequency of the travel, which, as I said, started with Obasanjo and then Buhari, and then is, taken to another level by the president. I think it's also time that people don't believe he's taking the job of the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the trade embassy missions in our different embassies.
But what do you make, what does it make the leader of the country who sits at home and doesn't engage? What does it make him look like, diplomatically speaking?
Do you think sitting at home means that you're not engaging? How many leaders of the world you know of are constantly traveling out of their countries? Except when they are critical things. If, for example, the Prime Minister of UK tomorrow says he's traveling to Europe or coming to, it's a serious matter. But not every time, almost on a monthly basis, you are half of the time out of the country.
So you'd rather have President Bola Tinubu sit more in Nigeria, stay more in Nigeria, do a lot of these engagement by proxy, and get the job done?
Foreign policy flows from domestic policies. The strength of your domestic engagement is also a function of the strength of your domestic politics. So you need to be around, at least to be, for that sense of optics. You need to show that you love your country, you stay around. There are people who can do this. I'm not saying that the president should not travel at all, but it should not be that every time you're on the move. It's like in the time of Buhari, who prefers to go and grant interviews to foreign journalists than to local journalists. What kind of optics, what is the subtext to all that? I think if I were some of his advisors, you don't really need photo ops with world leaders. And there is nothing leaders, people like Turkey, whatever they have, they are the ones who need to sell to us, which means we are more likely the market, which means they are more likely needing us than we need them. There will be facilitators, and the critical people will probably come to the country. I'm not saying the president should not go at all, but I think it's being overdone. It's being overdone.
Professor Jidefo Adibe is a professor of political science. Thank you so much indeed. It's good to see you again, Prof.
Yeah, thank you very much, John. I told you I thought something happened, so that's why you have
no, thank you so much, Prof.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Akimale. God bless Nigeria.